Buckle up, we're going back to May 1982. Today I thought I would do a new installment, I guess, of I don't know what you call it, the thing I call paper time machines. That's what comic books are to me. I've been going through my stuff, figuring out what I'm going to sell, what I'm going to keep, and I've been coming across ones, and I pick these up and I hold them in my hand, and I look at the cover. If I'm putting them in a new bag, or sometimes I just leaf through them. Oh, the smell is euphoric, and it instantly transports me back to a time and place. And it's one of the things I love about this hobby and about these books. I think a lot of people get that from looking at old photographs, and I get the same thing from this, or like you'll hear a song or something like that, and that's a topic for another day. Music and comics are tied together for me, but this one in particular takes me back to springtime, 1982. It came out in April. It hit the newsstands or comic shops in April 1982. It's cover dated July, so you always had May, June, July. It was always 3 months kind of ahead on the cover. But this one I remember, I bought it in May. It was a Saturday. I had just turned 13, and I was making real money then. I mean, real money for a 13-year-old. Doing mowing lawns, things like that, odd jobs. And I remember my brother and I had gone with my grandfather. He had taken us to a comic shop that's not around anymore called Empire Comics. Pretty big thing. They had 3 locations at one point. It was 2 twin brothers that opened it in the 70s, and very successful for years and years. And unfortunately, they both passed in the same year from the exact same strange, rare cancer. But anyway, we had just got back from there, and I had a stack of books, and I can remember that was probably the first time I remember getting a stack of new books. I used to get stacks, but they'd be old, like you go, and before dollar bins they had the quarter bins, so you could get 4 for a buck, or even before that sometimes there was nickel bins. But anyway, this was the first time I remember getting a stack of new books, and it was great for me. I mean, this is cover price is 60 cents, so I got a ton of books. I remember I spent at least $20–$25, so it was a nice stack that I had. And we got back to our house. My grandparents lived right next door to me, and we lived on a little pond near Lake Ontario. And when you live on the water, the front of your house is actually what most people would consider the back. So if you pull in your driveway and you walk towards your house, that's the back of your house. People on the water call their houses the front, is what most people consider the waterfront, or the back of their house. So we used to call it back front, and it was weird because it's a term, where you go, oh, I'm going back front. It was just something you would say in the neighborhood, because it was me and all my cousins lived in the neighborhood too. It was kind of wasn't a commune or any Waco situation, but it just was my great-grandparents bought a huge piece of property. They gave a piece to their 2 sons, and their 2 sons divided that up and gave it to their children. So they all built houses in there. There's 8–9 houses in there that were all my family. So we pull in the driveway, we go in the back, we go back front. I can remember grabbing probably an RC Cola, me and my brother, and we sat down back there. It was the old metal rockers, and every spring you had to wire brush them and paint them up. And we had, I used to use cane poles when I'd fish. They're real long, probably 10–15 feet long, and you'd carp fish and bullhead, things like that. Nothing big. When you're reading comics, you didn't want to have to be worried about casting, so you just use a bobber and a cane pole, sit out by the break wall, put your feet up, and read comics. And this one in particular, I remember, and I'll show it here, is Avengers 221. It's the comic where they decided in the beginning there was only 4 active members at that point: Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, and the Wasp. And they decided they got to get new blood. So the comic goes about that, each of the 4 characters goes out there and they start, looking for people to join. Thor tries to get Spider-Man, and the Wasp hosts like this very strange, I guess more like an Avon party for She-Hulk and Dazzler and all these people, and eventually it works out, and they end up choosing Hawkeye and She-Hulk. It was drawn by Bob Hall, and then inked by Brett Breeding, and it was written by David McElhaney. And the thing about that is there was a graphic novel called Emperor Doom, and it was drawn by Bob Hall. And I don't know what ever happened to that guy, but he was really good at aping people's artwork, because this, to my eye, and it might be Brett Breeding's inks, but it sure has a look like George Perez to me, especially that panel right there of Iron Man. If I look at that there, if you said that's Perez, I would have believed you. But I remember reading this book that day, and it's funny, the stuff you remember. I was 13. I was a teenager, and my birthday's in March, so it was May, it's springtime, and I hadn't been that old that long. And I think that's probably that summer I read a lot, and I think by the next summer, by the time I was 14, I started to wane a little bit. I didn't read as much. I stayed with it, but not a ton. There was probably a good year or so. I think between junior and senior year where I didn't read at all, I didn't buy anything. And then I got back again when I got into college. But this particular day, I remember sitting back there, feet up, just reading comic after comic, new comic after comic. It was sort of like I'd read it and hand it to my brother, and he'd do the same thing. And it just was a great day, and it just takes me back to that when I see that cover and I smell it, and I can think of the day, and unusually warm for Western New York that day. I remember we were in shorts, and reading that, and maybe not during reading that, but during that whole time, my brother and I were back there reading comics. We noticed across the pond, huge plumes of black smoke started coming up, and it turned out that it was a house fire, and you could hear the fire stations on either side came, and they met at this house that was almost directly across the water from us. And they were there, and it was just so exciting watching that. We went and got the binoculars, and we could watch them trying to put the fire out, and they had the bucket out and the whole thing, and guys hacking the windows with axes. So it was, for a 13-year-old kid, it was pretty awesome to see something like that. It's sad that someone's house burned, but it was pretty much a total loss. And later we found out, because on the water, people meet up in boats and you talk and stuff like that. But it was people were in Florida. They hadn't returned home yet, and it was an electrical issue, and their house burned to the ground. No one was in the house. Their boat was in the garage, and their car was in the garage. So it was everything burnt to the ground. They lost pretty much everything, but it was a huge fire. I mean, you could see the flames must have been 30, 40 feet high, and watch them trying to put it out and everything. And this all while we're reading our comic books. So it was a very unusual backdrop. We're reading comics, and you're sitting with your feet up on the wall, and then you just peer up from your book, and you can see that this house is ablaze. And I mean, it took hours for them to put that thing out, and it just was a amazing memory that's locked into my head. And when I saw this cover the other day, as soon as I saw it, I thought, this thing is taking me back. You hold on to it, and then next thing you know, you get jolted, and whoosh, you're going through a wormhole, and next thing you know, you're back where you were the first time you either saw that book or you read it. I seem to my jump point seemed to be the day that I purchased the book. Not so much the day I actually read it, and I don't know why that is, but I usually read them the same day I got them. I couldn't stop anymore. Once I got that book, I had to read it. So a lot of times I'd read in the car. I would read wherever I could get it. It's funny, as this book is in nice shape, but if I tilt it on edge, I can see the little dimply marks that come along with reading as you're holding it with your fingers. And it's got a fold in this corner. It's not color broke, so I guess I could fix it. But I had, in the meantime, I went and got a pristine. I mean, this is like probably a 9.6 copy. This one's flawless. But under my new thought process, the better one's going. I'm keeping my old one. This is my time machine. My paper time machine takes me back to the day in the spring, reading this book back front, watching that house fire with my brother, and it was just a great time, a great memory. So hopefully you all have some paper time machines for yourselves. It'd be great. Let me know about them in the comments. And till next time, keep reading.